Alright, so I placed 11th in the Core TCG Digimon Grand Prix last weekend. Missed out on top 8 on Tiebreakers, my mortal enemy, but I thought the deck did well enough that it still deserved a video. So this is it. This is what I'm currently calling Security Aggro. The original list was created with KVN when we weren't really a big fan of the security control lists so far in this format. And our original flirt was to build a deck with no Zwart defeats, and we ended up kind of coming full circle to a list that utilizes Zwart defeat a bit better. I get the original deck that I saw that used Mastamon, like this deck, which you will see, was Cameron Shenhui, I believe. He qualified for Nationals with a Mastamon Matt Tai security control deck. Me and Kevin really disliked Matt Tai in a lot of the lists at the time, but saw Matt Tai with Mastamon as being pretty cute, and getting to cast your Zwarts from hand is also nice. So we went full circle to this. Kevin ended up committing to a no Zwart build, and with very good success. And I've kind of stuck with this security aggro approach because I wanted to do some new spice. It's been sweet. I will say I'm probably gonna go Zwartless myself in the future, but if you're looking for a kind of cool way to do the archetype, even more aggressive, this is possibly a list for you. So let's just jump into the list. Starting off with the rookies, we got 4 Bushi Agumons. This card is very, very good in this deck. We have Matt Tai to increase our memory. We have Mastamon, and, well, still Magna, though you will see that I'm playing less of them than usual. But still, this card just gets it done a lot of the time, especially in this aggressive build. We have Salamon. This is actually one of the few ways to recover in the build that I'm currently running. I have changed it quite a bit from the original iteration. I got a couple, like top 64, top 32 with some other builds, but this is where I've landed right now. We'll get to some decisions that are maybe a little sus, but I've been tweaking the deck a lot, and I'm not saying that I'm on a perfect build. In fact, I'd probably keep changing it if I were to continue playing this deck in events for BT5, but I think I've played the deck a lot. I could have got top 8 but missed out on tiebreakers, so I think I'm okay trying some other types of security spice now, but there's quite a bit that you could change in this list, I feel. Possibly even with the rookies. So right now I'm playing 2 Starmons. Starmon has been actually pretty good. I was even playing it in my more control-orientated builds as like a little one-of, and it actually works. In the control builds, you could play it and maybe be able to then 7 Heavens something, Transcendent Sword, I don't know, depends what you're playing. But in this deck, it does a little more because we've got like things like Mastamon, and there's even Wargreymon. I'm basically getting more threats onto the board, right? And so Starmon's is actually pretty solid. I decided to play Patamon as my last rookie. This could be a 3rd Starmons. You could even cut it and only play 10 rookies, but I think I like the 11, at least at this time. But that is one of the possible flex slots. Then we've got some level 4s in this build. You don't really see Unimon in the security control decks, but for security aggro, I've actually liked it a lot. One of the first builds we tried initially, which ended up being a bit too cute, was just doing like 4 Ankylomon and having like all of these security Digimon effects to try to just beat them down, but that ended up being a bit too cute. Ankylomon has kind of lost its day in the sun, and Unimon works out pretty great. I moved to this card really recently, and I found it pretty nice to be able to like swing with the Magnadramon because it dies to a lot on the crackback, and be able to just kind of let Unimon die. It also works pretty well against OTK type stuff if they don't have an answer. And yeah, so I've been playing 2 Unimon. I even played 4 in one build that I think I got top 32 in, or maybe I got 35th in one of the events. But I even played 4 Unimon, and I don't think that that would be terrible either. Or you could cut the Patamon, play a third Unimon. Then we have 4 Magna Angemon. This deck is not as good as Recovering as others, but it's still nice to play a threat, and the fact that we are playing 4 Zwart defeats just makes this card still very powerful. We've got Izzy as well to help set up, and I have still liked having the 4, but it's possible you could play more 5 cost level 5s and maybe trim. But Magna Angemon has definitely still felt good enough with the Izzies in this deck. We also have 2 Mistymon. Mistymon is really out of its day in the sun as well, but unlike Ankylomon, I think it's still worth a spot. It used to be one of the best cards in the deck, and it was basically a sin to not play Mistymon in the security control decks in older formats. Still happen a decent amount, but now you could play none, but I'm still liking 2. It's still nice. If you're just getting it 1 for 1, that's fine. Or rather, just killing 1 Digimon. That's totally fine, but it gets it done. I could see trimming it. There's been a little less stuff like Rookie Rush lately, so I could see trimming it. Maybe trying like I believe it's Saruman or just one of the other 5 costs, level 5 Digimons. You could experiment with that over Mistymon for sure, but as is, I think it has earned its place, and it does still come up and get the job done. And plus, you got to play respects to the glory days of Mistymon. But for the new hotness, for Cromon, I have loved this card. It's been one of the best things to come up for this archetype, in my opinion. It's freaking sweet. You pass so little memory. 8k DP is huge. And yeah, this card has just been great. Kevin's even trying it in the actual control builds, and it's being awesome. I believe the first result with it was also in Cameron's list with, I think he only played 1, but that was the Mastamon deck as well. But we are playing 4 in this deck. It's amazing. I could see playing 4 of this in many other decks. If you're trying to play a level 5 and then throw a level 6 and go into Valder, Cromon is your guy. Card is sweet. Now here we get to possibly a little more of my sus decisions that I came onto just for this event. I wanted to try out Digimon for this deck, and it actually kind of overperformed. It's probably meant to be either like 2 Digimons and 2 starter Magnas, or no Digimons and just starter Magnas. But I really wanted to try it. I wanted to commit, and so I committed. I submitted the full 4, and it actually pulled its weight. I will probably upload the VOD for, well, not VOD, but the combined videos for this tournament as well. And yeah, I mean, I liked the card. It's nice to have 2 cost Evos. It's basically like the starter Magnas, right? Like 2 costs to evolve onto a level 5 is huge. 10 costs to play lets you have it turn 1 if you need it. But my reasoning for wanting to try it is that, you know, still your opponent can play a Nightmon and a Slash and kill your starter Magna, and then you essentially get nothing but being behind on board state. Now, that's not to say that this is the correct decision, but I did want to try it, and it ended up seeming solid. I'd probably go to 2 and 2, but I don't know. That's a card I think I need more data on to really speak for, but I submitted 4. I almost made top 8, and it pulled its weight more than I expected, but it's possibly a don't try this at home kind of scenario. Then we have 2 Mastamon. You could even play a third one over the Digimon. The only awkward thing is that you can't throw a Chaosmon on top of it, and that can come up. It has come up to me, so be careful with that. You can't throw Chaosmon on top, but you can throw a Zwart defeat on top of it, and that is part of the inspiration for playing it in this deck. It's also just, in general, super strong in an aggressive strategy. Getting back a Bushi Agumon, we can get back Unimon in this deck, and it's felt, yeah, very good when it works. When you have the memory to make use of it, it is chef's kiss. I have liked Mastamon a lot, And again, getting to digivolve and actually use those Zwarts defeats in your hand is basically the inspiration for this deck. And yeah, it works very well for the aggressive side. I could see playing more, but I have played 2 for the entirety of me working on this deck and tweaking it, and I've been pretty happy with it. Now, another decision I came to recently, because I was playing basically 4 Magnas the whole time as well, is I cut down on Magna Dramons. I was finding it pretty inconsistent in this build to go for the Lucimon Magna Dramon tempo, and while that is incredibly strong, and it's part why I'm not sure that this build is correct, I was finding it, inconsistent. A lot of the time I was getting less cards in my bin, and hardcasting Lucimon doesn't feel anywhere near as good in this deck because we're trying to like hardcast level 6s and put Balders on top of it. We're not recovering into Gaia forces here, right? So I wanted to experiment trimming it. It could be that I want 3, but 4 wasn't feeling great. And I did actually end up even cutting Lucimon entirely. And again, that might be incorrect, but I really wanted to keep my rookie numbers up, my level 5 numbers up, my level 6's numbers up, and I wanted to try cutting Lucimon, and to be honest, I didn't miss it a whole lot during the event. I'd probably need to play more events, more play testing to really make a more educated opinion on it, but you could totally play like 3 Lucimon and 4 Magna Dramons if you wanted to in your list. I was going with that before, and I just decided to cut them during this event so that I could play a bunch of level 6s, and one of the reasons was War Greymon. Now, this card doesn't see as much play anymore. It's often like a one of in Lord Knight or something like that, but it's actually been amazing. I committed to trying it as a one of over /n, over like a second /Angemon, or a starter Magna at the time when I was tweaking the list, and I drew it up against Lord Knight multiple times in my original event that I played it in, and it was amazing. So I wanted to try 2, and part of how I did that was cutting down on Magna Dramons. And wow, this card has felt great in this deck, surprisingly. Mainly because against Lord Knight, they're going to have a blocker out a lot of the time, and it doesn't die to /Angemon. So if they have, let's say, 1 blocker, you attack with your War Greymon, and lower the DP of their Lord Knight. Now they have to block, and your guy has restanded, so you get to attack again and kill it. So they need essentially 2 blockers. And let's say they use up both their blockers. Well, okay, now you could maybe go into a Valderarm and kill that Lord Knight anyways. And that does come up. War Greymon has felt really strong, and I mean, I've even flirted with trying a build with 4 of them, but when you're not doing cute things like Andromon, I don't know if you're really using it to its full effect. So I've liked it too, but yeah, it's felt good. It's felt very good. So I'd probably still stick with it, but I could see playing 1. You could even experiment with none, but War Greymon has been pulling its weight for me. Then we have 4 Valderarm. Now there has been builds where I've trimmed on Valderarms, played 3. Just because I'll play like less level 6 hits. I've also tried playing 3 Valderarm, 3 Zwart defeats, but for this build I wanted to just commit, play the 8 level 7s, and try to build my deck to make them stuck in my hand a little less, because I originally started with playing 4 of each, and my hands were being a little too clunky, so I trimmed on them, and I missed them a bit, so I tried to accommodate, and that's why there's all these level 6s now. And I'm playing the full 4 Chaosmon, I'm just going to lay them out since both my level 7s, the full 4 Zwart defeats, and yeah, I mean, card is fantastic in this deck. I'm happy with 4 in this iteration. There's ways you could like trim them and edit the deck around. There's really a lot of ways to build this deck, I think, and I'm not sure what's best yet, but Valderarm is just amazing here. You get to have very good board control. It's just a massive threat. It's hard for your opponent to kill. When they do, you can gain some memory, can let you cast a Zwart defeat in hand, maybe do a Mastamon, and yeah, card's just been super stellar. So we've got 8 hits for the Valderarm in this deck, and I think that is plenty. It works out pretty well, but like I said, you can trim the numbers yourself. Then we have 4 Omnimon Zwart defeats. I'm playing the full 4 because this is kind of what this deck's trying to do. It like almost fronts as security aggro, and that's part of its strength as in being a rogue deck, is that your opponent really doesn't know what's going on, right? Like they'll think, oh, I got to play around Gaia Force, I got to play around Seven Heavens, Eden's Javelin. They'll ask you how many cards are in your hand. That's a question that comes up. I'm like, yeah, it doesn't matter. But people want to know, and they're scared of attacking your security, but this is what you want to hit in your security in this deck. Well, and Ultimate Flare. But yeah, we're playing the full 4 here. You've got Izzy to hopefully set it up and then recover into it, and it's super strong. We get to digivolve onto Mastamon. We get to hard play it with either Matt Tai or Dead Valderarm, anything like that. And yeah, this is a deck kind of built to accommodate Zwart defeat. Again, you could play 3 here. I'm not positive on what's correct yet, but I'm playing 4 and 4 at the moment, and it's working out. It's working out solidly. We also have 4 Ultimate Flare. This is my only security removal option, unless you want to count Zwart defeat, which I kind of do. It's like, for this build, it's close enough. I'm gonna fix the lighting a little bit here. Yeah, I mean, I guess that works. Ultimate Flare, really good against Rookie Rush. That's something that this type of build has a lot more problems with than a more traditional control build. So having the Ultimate Flares is nice. I've experimented with playing 3, but I went back to 4 just to like really have more security hits. It's still nice against decks like Lord Knight or decks trying to OTK you. You can still hit Ultimate Flare and save yourself. I'm not sure that it's even completely necessary, honestly. Like, you could experiment without it, but I have been playing some number of Ultimate Flares the whole time in the security aggro approach, and currently I'm on 4. Haven't been seeing as much Rookie Rush lately, but I don't want to be like results orientated about my matchups too much and just like jump the gun and go down to like 2 or whatever. The card does pull its weight. It can save you, and you know, it can also kill you when they play around it and don't have anything that it kills, but it pulls its weight enough of the time that I have liked having Ultimate Flare, and I think I would play it at 4 again if I were to play this next weekend. Then we have 3 Izzies. Pretty stock for these security type decks is to play 3 of the Tamers for your splash card. You have like 3 ties for Gaia Force. You got more Glare. So 3 Izzies for your Ultimate Flare. Izzy is a lot less scary to play than TK, and that has been one of its biggest strengths, and one of the main reasons I actually ended up being more okay with like splashing black in the security control decks, because initially, if you watch my other videos, I actually just didn't even splash black. I played like a straight up red-yellow or something like that, and even in threat light, I didn't see the need for Izzy, but the fact is TK can lose you games, and Izzy just is pretty clean, and it lets you do some cute things if you have the recovery. Set up a Zwart, set up a Ultimate Flare, or even just smooth out your draws, find the rookie in the top 3, something like that. Izumi is very good. I slept on him at the beginning of BT5, and while I do think there's still warrant to even just not splashing black if you're going 3 colors, I do like it a lot, and in this deck, Izumi is fantastic. I love it. Then we have 2 Tai Kamiya and Matt Ishida. This is a card I really didn't think I would ever play, but somehow it happened, and it's actually super good in this deck. We do not have much removal, right? Basically, like, one of our main ways of removing is on our turn with either a Chaosmon, a Omnimon, or a War Greymon. And since we're removing on our turn, that means if they have a level 6, we are going to gain the memory. I could even see playing 3 of this card in this deck, but it's kind of pushing it. There's times it straight up does nothing, or, you know, it's not at its best sometimes, and while it's very nice to be able to cast your Zwart defeats, I'm not sure that warrants more Takemiya's and Madishida's, but it's pretty strong in this deck because our removal is mainly focused on doing it on our turn. And for that, I've liked the card a lot. It also lets your Zwart defeats apply even more pressure. Takemiya Madishida with Zwart defeat is like really gross in the, well, it's not mirror for this deck, but against security control, sexy. This is sexy. And yeah, I mean, I've liked it in this deck. I've liked it at 2 so far. Could tweak those numbers, but yeah, getting that extra 2 memory in this deck is just super nice because we got Mastamon, Omnimon. It could even let you play Izzy, then recover in the same turn. You know, the possibilities are really everywhere, but that extra 2 memory is utilized pretty well here, and this is, well, I mean, sorry, we got our eggs. I can't say this is the deck yet. We got 4 Cupimons. Now, I was playing only 4 Cupimons because you really want it. The turn 1, you get to attack and get it done. Draw your card, that's most important. But I added the 5th egg for this event, Upamon, because I went up to 2 War Greymons and I have a little more ways to manipulate my security. We got 2 War Greymon, 2 Mastamon, right? We don't have like Lucamon anymore. I don't know. I wanted to try the 5th egg again because I've also got 11 rookies, but you could totally play just 4 eggs on yours. This card, while it is better in this build than usual for the security kind of archetypes, it still doesn't feel very good to get it turn 1. So that could be reason to cut it, but having enough eggs, I'm really not sure. There's a couple things in this list I don't know if I can confidently recommend you should go at them by yourself. You could try playing this build without Upamon, without Digimon, right? I just decided to give him a go for this event. It seemed spicy, and I'm very glad that I got the result that I did, even though tiebreakers seem to not like me very much in this game. It's about the 5th time I've bubbled out of a better placement. It is what it is. I'm still happy with the result and happy that I got there with this deck, and as far as I know, it's a pretty kind of fresh archetype and look into doing the security strategy. Sexy, security aggro. So yeah, this is the deck. If you have any questions, you holler at me either on Discord or just in the comments. If you want more content on this deck, I would be willing to play it in another event, honestly. I would be willing to make more content on the other lists I've done, or just what I think may be better. I would need to think on it more, but this is at least the list that I played in the tournament. I did fairly well. I will probably post the videos. It was keep in mind, it was a shorter tournament than usual, but still, we got there. We got a top placement, and I'm happy with it. So yeah, security aggro. If you give this archetype a try, let me know. I'd love to hear it. I think it's really cool. I find it a lot of fun, and yeah, that's all.